Experts seem to agree that during the design of any EPSS, many mistakes are made when too much emphasis is placed on the system functionality rather than on analysis of the skills and knowledge the end users need to do their jobs. Having a comprehensive front-end analysis is essential at this stage, rather than just accepting that an EPSS is the perfect answer to a growing problem. EPSS isn't right for every situation. Task analysis will uncover what specific tasks and training skills can be taught using an EPSS. By taking a look at all the key drivers and barriers in the organization, skills, motivation, articulated expectations, incentives, tools, and work processes that contribute to the performance problems, there's an increased likelihood that Davey will fix the company's problems with a well-defined EPSS. So let's proceed with caution and assume Davey needs to do some more work if EPSS is the right solution. Also, if Davey's smart, he'll hire the best instructional designer he can find to help him develop the long-range strategy for EPSS and build sponsor support and advocacy. First, Davey needs to solicit the sponsor for information. While the company has plenty of stuff to describe their day-to-day practices over the years and what the EPSS should look like, they do not appear to know too much about what it will take to support this change. What should the performance look like, and what will it take to successfully shift the company and its employees in the right direction? Davey should start with a clear, concise survey of all the managers and area supervisors to gain consensus about conversion to an automated records management and training system, and to ask them what obstacles they think might get in the way of implementing this new system. Next, Davey needs to reach out to internal experts. This is where Davey could turn to his team members. He has asked them to essentially sift and sort through the mountain of materials to see what goes where in relation to the 4 potential EPSS functions, or buckets, as Davey calls them. This is not a good use of their time. Instead, he should be asking them, what about this EPSS is the most promising? What can it do for the company? What problems will it solve? What opportunities will arise out of it? How do they envision people will use it? And how does this mesh with the outcomes of the EPSS? Davey and his team could then use this information to write clearly defined objectives for organizing the mountain of materials. These objectives will guide them in sorting the information into the 4 functions. Along the way, Davey's team will likely discover what information is obsolete and quickly move it to bucket 5, the trash. After that, Davey should assemble a committee and get its members involved in rollout decisions. Davey has no problem with this one. He already has a team of 4. However, with the size of this project, it is going to take a lot more than just the 5 of them to pull this off. In fact, this is where Davey could involve trainers, managers, and associates from WidgetMart stores to help sort the information and determine what can be discarded. Again, it would be in the team's best interest to survey their audience to see if this plan is even worthwhile. Without an audience analysis, it may be pointless to have a rollout of any kind. Davey needs to find out whether or not the audience is enthusiastic about the changes. If not, what can his team do to convince them otherwise? It's better to know up front what obstacles they will face during the rollout. What about vendors, vendor materials, and documentation? Davey shouldn't be at this stage yet, especially if he can't be sure an EPSS is the solution or that the functionality of the system is adequately or appropriately designed. However, if the company is adamant, Davey needs to do some quick shopping for an EPSS interface. Fast. Looking at other corporate examples can be useful. This is where an instructional designer would be helpful. The designer could work with Davey's team, Ellen, Josie, Tim, and Barry. They are familiar with training procedures. Under the guidance of the instructional designer, the team should conduct a task analysis of 3 to 5 key responsibilities at each personnel level, the regional branches, and internationally. Then they can see if these tasks can be replicated with possible vendor platforms. Next, determine how much may be integrated at WidgetMart with little or no hardware requirements. This is where cost-effectiveness and efficiency need to work together. Since Davey has been thrown into this blind, he also needs to look at the published literature. Not only does he not have any literature to support his company's interest, he doesn't have any literature to justify it will work for their company at all. Once again, the instructional designer can help him out here. Davey needs to ask the designer to do a literature review of similar companies and their use or misuse of EPSS. He ought to target specific performances. For example, how have these systems contributed to sales for other companies? What were the ultimate training expenses for these new technologies? What other barriers are their divisions likely to encounter, especially if it means having to make the technology uniform internationally. Finally, Davey needs to consider job incumbents and their supervisors. This in itself ought to be the culmination of all the previous steps. Assuming Davey could get there, he has to be the great salesman here. How will he and his team be able to assure the company and employees of the EPSS benefits? He can't sell something that he can't stand behind, particularly when he is a WidgetMart employee himself. The instructional designer can help Davey develop a long-range strategy for the EPSS, anticipate what stakeholders will throw at them, and be ready to defend themselves.